Welcome back to another episode of our Let's Talk TriDelta podcast. I'm Mindy Tucker, and I get to serve as TriDelta's CEO, a job that I love. And one of the reasons I love it is because I get to do these podcasts with these amazing guests. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Dr. Heather Felton from our Delta Road chapter at the University of Kentucky. That's why I'm thrilled to welcome her. She is a pediatrician, social media influencer, published author. Her work has been featured on parents.com and throughout the National Institutes of Health at the NIH. You may know her from TikTok, where she helps fight health misinformation in a way that's easy to understand and digest. Can't wait to dig into that. She is a full-time pediatrician with Norton Healthcare and an associate professor at the University of Louisville School of Medicine. I don't know how she has time to do anything else so far. I'm tired. She's got a lot going on. At Louisville, she's helping to educate the next generation of physicians, which I think is really cool as a legacy for her. We're also going to talk about being a mom. She is raising kids who were preteens during the pandemic and dealing with the risk of social media. And I know how tricky this can be to navigate as a parent, screens and online sharing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to dig in with her today about her roots in being a doctor, all of this online stuff that we're dealing with, and just balancing all of it as a parent and a working parent at that. So Heather, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of dig in. I always like to start with your TriDelta story. So how did you end up at the University of Kentucky, and what really drew you to TriDelta there?
So I went to high school in Western Kentucky, and I was interested in staying in state. Had friends, close friends who were going to UK, and so, and then family who were in Greek life. Like it was something I had always kind of assumed that I wanted to do, and so went through Rush. I had a couple of friends who were in TriDelt, and the chapter really stood out to me. It's a beautiful chapter with lots of really great young women. I found a home there. I found lots of care and support. And so I really enjoyed my time at TriDelt there.
Awesome. What year did you join the chapter?
I joined, I think it was 2003. I joined as a sophomore.
Okay.
And so I think it was 2003. And then I was class of 2006.
Okay. So you served as the technology chair for your chapter. And I'm trying to think back to like 2003. Where were we in terms of like social media land and all that? What was that like at that particular time?
I think I was the first technology chair. I think it was a new office that they made. And my original job was to either to build or to like edit our chapter website. Facebook, I think, came to the University of Kentucky in 2004.
Okay.
Because back in the day, it was you had to have a college email address to join Facebook.
Right.
And it was only certain colleges, like it rolled out slowly. And so I remember when it came to UK, and so you could only make your personal profile. There wasn't an organization like TriDelt didn't have a page or anything on Facebook, and there was no Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah. Wow. That's so crazy to think back to that time. And now we're
in a different world.
Yeah, it was a very different world. How did TriDelta sort of prepare you or complement what you were doing? I guess you were pre-med at that point. You knew you were going to medical school. Like, how did TriDelta play into sort of preparing you or supporting you through that?
I think it was such a big part for me, especially in two different ways when I think back on it. I think one, that every class that I had, there was another TriDelt there or somebody who had taken it before. I had a mentor, I had a study buddy, I had somebody there who could support me academically. I had alumni who were pre-med or going to medical school or studying for the MCAT, but there's always somebody to go to ask advice for. But also, even if you're choosing a rigorous program, that can't be the only thing that you do. You're going to go crazy. Right. And so there was an outlet to decorate the house or go to a game or just hang out with friends. And you have to have that as part of a well-balanced life. Otherwise, it's going to be so stressful and chaotic all the time. And I think that there was this support academically where I needed it, but also an outlet when I needed a break.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I think people don't really, I think sometimes you can't get down that rabbit hole of like, I'm doing this and I'm so focused on this. And I think it's one of the beautiful things that sorority experience brings you. We support the academics and the leadership training, but also the friendship and the social opportunities as well. And I think
Exactly.
that balance is really important. I think you're right. So you step into this career. What led you to pediatrics? How did this end up being your specialty?
My dad was a family medicine physician. And so I went into medical school kind of thinking that I was going to do some kind of primary care, something where I was going to work in a clinic and people were going to come to me and I was going to, grow with them. That was always my thought. And so family medicine was high on my list. It always kept coming back to kids. Every single rotation that I did in medical school, was always looking for the opportunity to care for children. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that, but I think that for me, it was just if that's really what I'm looking for all the time, then why not just do kids? It's a lot more fun. I think the medicine is really interesting because taking care of an infant and an 18-year-old are very different things,
Yeah.
and even not just like socially in the way that we would think about them, but even their physiology and how their bodies work is different. And I always thought that that was fascinating too.
Yeah, it is so interesting to have to think about it. It's a different kind of human.
Yes.
You can't just give them the Advil or the Tylenol. Like there's
Right. Yeah.
go into these growing bodies, and I have two kids, so and I've been through all kinds of things with them medically, and so it's just interesting how um, how the growth spurts, how the growth part of what they're going through is so makes their care so different.
Yes, and what they're able to mentally handle and how they're going to cope with each challenge is very different as they age, and the family dynamics all play a part in it. But I really love not just having like this one individual patient, but it is this family. But I really thrive in that, and I love seeing a family and asking how their siblings are, and really getting to know so many different people. It's a great way to build relationships, and I really love that.
I love that for you. How do you balance? I mean, it feels like a pretty demanding career. How do you balance that with raising three kids?
I mean, I guess pediatrics and being a mom, they complement each other. I often will joke that like my doctor brain and my mom brain and the way that I think about my children, like they don't talk to each other. I have very bad medical judgment when it comes to my own children.
Like the
But
cobbler's children have no excuse, always. Yes.
I do think in some ways they complement each other, and I can set boundaries and say like this is my family time and I'm going to protect that, and this is for me and for us over here, and it's different for my career, and but when I'm there I'm going to be 100% there. And so I think that that's kind of the way that my personality works, where I can section things off to give the most attention to where I need to at the moment.
Yeah, that's smart. I think trying to do all in the moment doesn't work, trying to juggle too much at the same time. But if you can cordon it off, that is helpful.
Yes.
Let's get into this parenting stuff, which is not for the faint of heart, as we know. Tell me about your kids, their ages. You have three.
Three girls.
Okay.
They are 7, 9, and 12.
Okay.
So very different ages and different challenges. Um, I try certainly to follow my own advice. I give myself grace and I give my families grace too, because there's kind of this idea of what is perfect and what we're striving for. And then there is, I did the best that I could do today.
Right.
And that is just fine. That's what we could do today. And we didn't eat all of our vegetables and it will be fine. We'll try again tomorrow or whatever the challenge is.
But grace is super important, I think. So I
Yeah.
have two boys. They're now 14 and 17. I have no idea how we got here, and they're both taller than me, and I don't know how this happens. Um, I mean, I do know how it happens, but I just don't know how this happens so fast.
So fast. Yeah.
But I resonate. It resonates with me to hear this, like this idea of grace and the idea that you make one, like you don't get everything perfect one day. That doesn't matter the next day. You get to start over, and you get to
Hmm.
beating ourselves up over the one thing we didn't get right. I think is something we do as parents, and that grace is
Absolutely.
so
I
critical.
see a lot of parents who put a lot of pressure on themselves to be perfect all of the time. And I'm very quick to say, I want you to be okay with not being perfect all of the time. And nobody is like that. That I think is the biggest secret, and getting to talk with families in a little exam room all the time, the things that they're concerned about and the things that they've done. And knowing that there's not a single person out there who is perfect. No, even if they look like they have it all put together, they don't. And trying to compare yourself to somebody else isn't going to be healthy for anyone. And
Yeah.
so we can accept that and say, I will do my best next time. And that's going to be okay.
And I think, we haven't gotten into the social media piece of this, but I think that's so much a part of it because we
Hmm.
see everyone else's best moments
Yeah.
on social
You
media.
see
And
a very curated view
yes,
of exactly what they wanted you to see.
and those will hit right when you're living your worst moment in your
Hmm.
life,
Yes.
I think. And
Yeah,
so that is really hard to do, the comparison
absolutely.
there. And I always love that phrase, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, it is. I mean, it is. And I really don't want people to compare one sibling to another. They're two different kids. Your family to somebody else's. Your motherhood or parenthood journey to somebody else's is all going to look very different, and it's going to change day to day.
Yeah. I've also learned, and just in talking to people, I think everyone else is struggling too. We're all like, none of it is perfect and all
Mhm.
wrapped up. And the more you talk and share with each other, I think you learn just what other challenges people are running into and how common what your experience is.
Yes, there's a lot more support for it when you're open about it, and I think if you are looking for support, then being vulnerable in that way is a good way to find other people to say, I'm going through the exact same thing with my kids. I'm finding the exact same challenges, and you'll find that you're not alone.
Yeah. Was there any parenting advice that you used to give before you had kids that changed once you had kids?
I think that the biggest thing I remember like talking to parents about like babies, like especially like colicky infants or gassy infants or babies with reflux, and being so exhausted and going through medical school and residency and thinking that I knew what exhaustion was, and it is absolutely exhausting. But I had a baby after all of my training was complete, and nothing compared to having a newborn. I really thought back and thought, I can't believe I ever said that to a parent about, what to do when baby wouldn't stop crying, when they were inconsolable, when you were so exhausted and frustrated yourself. It's really an experience that until you like walk in those shoes, it's so hard to appreciate what they're experiencing in that moment. And it's so easy to also forget what it was like when you were there. I've done it 3 times now, and thinking back on it, it's hard to sometimes remember exactly just how hard it was. But I like to give lots of grace to families who are in it, and who, especially the ones who are experiencing it for the first time and really had no idea what it was going to be like to take care of a newborn right after you yourself just had a baby, and how challenging all of that is.
Yeah. I always find myself when I travel a lot. So I see a mom in the airport with a, child throwing a huge, I just want to be like, Mom, you got this. It's okay.
Yes,
You know,
it'll be fine.
they're feeling so self-conscious and,
Uh-huh.
so many of those
Yes.
moments where I think once you've been through it, you're way more compassionate about what they're
Yes,
going through.
definitely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about technology and social media and safety. What prompted you to start sharing online around social media presence and safety, and what really got you started in this?
I have been on social media personally probably since 2004, like in college. But I made my first professional account during the pandemic, and it just felt like there were so many things that were confusing for so many people that I thought I do have something important to say about all of these different things that are happening. And part of my job is not just seeing patients, but I teach medical students and pediatric residents. I thought, I bet I would be a good person who could explain some of this because it's part of what I do. And so, it's one little step at a time. You make a couple of posts, a couple of videos, and you find out what works and what resonates. And I just kept continuing it and building this, I think, professional portfolio of medical information that's searchable across different platforms. And now it's something that is kind of no, I won't say well-oiled machine. I will say it's something that I can do much easier than I did at the beginning because I've gotten better at it.
Yeah. So, what are some of your tips for keeping our kids safe online?
I think postponing is probably the biggest thing, like waiting until they really are old enough and mature enough. And I think that's one of the pressures that's so hard to deal with because a lot of kids will get phones early or get a social media presence early. But then I think also realizing that you wouldn't, give your kid a driver's license and then just say like, well, good luck. You'd want to go out and drive with them and give them tips and talk to them about it. And I think that the same is true for social media, that you should watch videos together. I do that with my daughter now, my oldest. We talk about, well, why do we think that this is fake? Why might this not be real? Maybe they're acting it out. Maybe it's AI. Let's read through some of the comments together and see what that is like. And we can talk about like, is this nice? Was that kind? What would you do if somebody left a comment like that and they were talking about you? All of these different things. And I at least had the privilege of getting into social media when I was already technically an adult. But they're diving right into it at their preteen years, their middle school years. And I think that that would be so much more challenging and confusing, especially in this space where if it's online, it lives there somewhere forever. That's what I tell my patients and what I tell my kids. And so I think they need some guidance. They don't grow up intuitively knowing anything about what is already there or how it could affect them in the future.
Yeah, these are good. I've obviously two boys that this is where they want to live, and it's been so interesting to navigate, I think, and try to figure out how to navigate with them. And some of the connections I have with them are actually through, like, my oldest and I both love Formula One, and we trade a lot of Instagram videos about Formula. But it's kind of become like one of our connection points too, in
Hmm.
a nice way. I think it can be positive, and it
I
can
think it
be
can be
exciting.
too. Hmm.
But like you said, there's just so many ways it could go wrong too, and
Right.
much out there that you're just not able to control what they see and how they see it. And so I think that's really
Yes. So I mean, I do, recommend using some of the parental controls when you can,
cool.
but you have to know like it won't be perfect all of the time. And so I think also talking about like what you might see and why going through their feed with them and seeing what it is that they like, let them drive, let them
Yeah.
scroll and figure out. But then if you do come across something, you do have the opportunity in the moment to talk about it.
And they want to show you. I think that's a connection point, sitting down with them to do it. They want to show you, and it's
It
you step in their
absolutely is.
world. And so,
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go a little bit beyond digital safety and talk about physical safety, which I know is also important for you. You are a child passenger safety technician. I want to know what that is.
I have it I can install and inspect car seats. It's a
Okay.
certification in car seat training.
Okay. All right. What do you think are the most common car seat safety mistakes that people make? Or
I think the most common ones are actually the ones for the bigger kids. I think people move their kids up through the different car seats too soon. We get a lot of education about infants and their infant carrier car seats, the rear facing car seats. And then I think that you're several years down the road and you think I'm an experienced parent now. I know what I'm
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
And so we move them into a forward facing car seat or a booster seat. And I think very commonly out of a booster seat way too soon. Kids need to be 4'9" and between 80 or 100 pounds. There's actually a longer, like 5 point checklist to meet to be able to move out of a booster seat and into a seatbelt. But my oldest just recently got out of a booster seat this past summer. She was 11 at the time, but for me, I wanted her to stay there to be safe for as long as possible, as long as she needed it.
yeah. And I know and we're all so right. I mean, the day you get rid of the car seats, it's like freedom. It's like getting out,
Oh, yes.
like you're so ready.
Yes.
But I think you're right to not to rush that and to pay attention to the rules on that. I think we could probably talk about this safety stuff and the digital and all that stuff like all day long. And I wish we could. I'm gonna find other ways to get you talking to our members. I love it.
I can do that too. Yeah.
I
Well, and I
love it.
have it on my social media pages so they can certainly, like, I talk about all of these kinds of things. So there is
Yeah,
an
let's
opportunity.
go ahead. You brought it up. So let's go ahead. You want to share where people can find you online, and then we'll talk a little bit more about TriDelta and how.
Yep. I am at Heather Felton, MD, across all of my different platforms. I'm most active on TikTok and Instagram,
Okay.
but you may find me on like YouTube and things. I just don't post there as often.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope our listeners will check it out and go find you. It sounds like there's a lot of good tips and tricks there. Not even tricks, just tips.
I'm a general pediatrician, so I talk about a very wide variety of different topics.
Yeah. Okay. How does TriDelta show up in your life today?
I mean, I still have, and especially through social media, like keeping in touch with, girls, women who I was in my sorority with. And then, in my community, there isn't a chapter at the University of Louisville, but there is an alumni chapter. So you can still make connections with alumni across the country who now live in Louisville. And just Panhellenic women as well, who experienced Greek life. I was actually talking to somebody about it very recently, who had gone to U of L. So there wasn't a Child Out chapter. We were in different chapters, but it's fun and it's like a connection point to, bring up conversation, to talk about and share your experiences.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think there's, when you've gone through the experience at the collegiate level, you do find commonalities not only with your TriDelta sisters, but with your Panhellenic sisters as well as you meet them and step into the world with them. And I think we're all part of a really important experience that sets you up for the rest of your life. And I don't know about you, but I find my friendships in TriDelta have evolved over time, based on whatever season or stage of life I'm in. And you
Oh,
make
yes.
connections even with your chapter sisters at different points in different ways. I'm sure you've seen that play out as well.
Yep, absolutely. And I had a couple who, moved to Louisville around the same time that I did. Others that have moved away, but you still have those connections, and I do really appreciate still getting to keep in touch, even if it's just like waiting for a Christmas card to come in the mail.
Yeah. It's that time of year right now as we're talking. I know this is going to air in January, but it's just we have all kinds of different ways we keep up with our sisters, and I think it's fun to watch those relationships grow
Yes.
over the years. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us. It's been fun to talk to you and to learn a little bit about what you do and how to keep our kids safe. And I think it's just such an important topic. And as a fellow parent, thanks for putting yourself out there and sharing all
Yes.
your wisdom and experience with all of the rest of us. And so I hope everybody will check out her social media and see what she's got going there, especially if you're a parent. Got a new Tri Delta friend who will help you navigate all those challenges. So thanks for being with us and sharing everything with us today.
Thank you so much. I really had fun.
Yeah. So for our members out there, I hope you'll check out Heather online, Dr. Heather. Don't want to diminish that at all. The accomplishment of getting there. We're so proud to have you in our sisterhood. So check her out online, get some tips from her on parenting and keeping our kids safe. Especially online. It's something we're all worried about on a regular basis. This is airing in January, and in January, our registration for convention will be hitting the presses. You'll find it online, so stay tuned. Our convention is being held in Denver at the Gaylord Rockies from June 26th through June 29th, and we hope as many of you as possible will join us there. We love it when you like, subscribe, and rate our podcast. We have 3 stars in our Crescent, but we love those 5-star ratings, so bring it on. Thanks for joining us today, and until next time, Delta Love.